Hi, and welcome to Lesson 8. Congratulations on getting this far, and I hope you learned a lot about communication along the way. So today we are looking at chapter 11 in your book, and this chapter looks at both informative and persuasive speeches. So to learn about your informative speech for this class, check out the informative speech video that's separate from this. But today, I do want to talk about what an informative speech is and the different types of speeches that you can give. So by definition, an informative speech is a speech that is designed to enlighten or educate the audience. Your goal is just to present new information that makes the audience go, "Ooh, I learned something from that speech." What we don't want to do is give a speech that is not informative, that's persuasive, or that's entertaining, or that doesn't educate the audience. We have to be careful. Our whole goal is just to impart knowledge to your audience. There's different things that we can cover in an informative speech. So you could give your speech on a person. An informative speech about a person that is of significance is a good informative speech topic. It could be someone like George Washington or Maya Angelou or someone that has had impact on their community. Be careful not to choose someone that might be important to you but not important to the other people, like your mom or your grandma or your neighbor who just made a good impact on your life. Those people are important to you, but the goal is to relate to your audience, and so make sure you choose, if it's a person, someone that the audience will benefit from knowing and learning about. Name recognition can be helpful here. Another type of informative speech is about a place. Maybe you've traveled somewhere. I went to Jamaica and learned a lot about Jamaica and loved it. So maybe you could talk about Jamaica. You could talk about Scotland, or you could talk about like a location like Mount Everest. So some place that you've traveled to or that you'd like to travel to learn more about. Also, kind of in the same area are structures or buildings. It could be a bridge like the Golden Gate Bridge, or it could be some sort of monument like Mount Rushmore, or it could be some sort of cool statue or something like the Empire State Building or the Statue of Liberty. So all of those types of structures could also be good informative speeches. Third are events, and an event is something that has happened or occurred. So this is something that could happen like every year. Maybe it's Christmas, maybe it's Halloween, maybe it's a holiday that North Americans don't celebrate, but that's celebrated somewhere else that you could tell us about. An event is also something that can just occur, and it doesn't necessarily have a time relationship to it. So my son is a type 1 diabetic. So I could tell you about type 1 diabetes, which is very different than type 2 diabetes. So I could educate you about the causes, the treatments, the impact of type 1 diabetes. So that's an event, something that happens a lot, something that happens just once, something that happens in no relationship to time. Also, it could be an animal. So you could tell us about your favorite animal. I had a student give a speech one time on the porcupine. I learned a ton of information about the porcupine by listening to that speech. So you could choose an animal that's interesting that your audience could learn more about. And lastly, it could be a concept. And a concept is a theory, a belief, an idea that is more conceptual in nature, more abstract in nature. I had a student one time give a speech on black holes, and it was really interesting because, of course, I've heard of black holes in space, but I didn't really know much about them. And so she talked a lot about what they are, how they exist, what they do, the impact in space. And I learned a lot about the idea of black holes from listening to that speech. So that's a little information for you about informative speeches. There's a lot more in chapter 11 of your book that I think would be important for you to know. So read that chapter carefully as you're preparing for your speech. Again, congratulations for making it to lesson 8. I hope you have a great lesson.